A 10-year-old girl just grabbed a microphone at New York's most elite charity gala and asked her CEO mother in front of 500 cameras, "Mom, when do I get a dad I actually like?" What happened next sparked a media firestorm. A corporate war and a love story that would expose the ugliest truths about power and the most beautiful truths about family. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and stay until the very end, because this story takes a turn nobody saw coming. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from so I can see how far this incredible story travels across the world. I don't want another man who looks at his watch when I'm talking. Chloe Hale said that 3 days before she destroyed her mother's reputation in front of Manhattan's entire power elite. Madison Hale didn't hear it. She was reviewing quarterly reports while her daughter ate cereal alone at a marble counter that cost more than most people's cars. Madison had buried her husband 2 years ago. Thomas Hale died when his helicopter went down over the Atlantic, leaving behind a $9 billion empire, 7,000 employees, and a daughter who started having nightmares every single night. The grief counselor said, "Give it time." The lawyers said, "Focus on the business." The board said, "Show strength." So Madison showed strength until she forgot that strength without presence is just abandonment, inexpensive clothing. The Metropolitan Museum Gala was supposed to be 3 hours of check writing and small talk. Madison wore Valentino. Chloe wore a navy dress she'd picked out herself and hated the moment they left the penthouse. In the car, Madison took a call from the Tokyo office. Chloe stared out the window and counted streetlights. 27 blocks. Not one word between them that wasn't about sitting up straight or smiling for photographers. Inside the museum, 1,000 candles reflected off crystal that cost more than teacher salaries. String quartets played Vivaldi while waiters in white gloves carried champagne like they were diffusing bombs. Madison worked the room with the precision of a surgeon. Handshakes, air kisses, business cards exchanged with the subtlety of drug deals. "Madison, you look stunning. Have you met my daughter, Chloe? Such a beautiful child. You must be so proud." Nobody asked Chloe a single real question. They complimented her dress, her hair, her posture. They treated her like a decorative object Madison brought to prove she had work-life balance. By the third conversation, Chloe stopped trying to smile. By the fifth, she stopped trying at all. Richard Evans appeared near the champagne fountain. Board member. Hotel magnate. The kind of wealthy that makes other wealthy people nervous. He'd been circling Madison since 6 months after Thomas died, which everyone pretended was respectful timing, but really wasn't. "Madison," radiant as always. He kissed her cheek like he owned the rights to her face. And young Chloe, growing up so fast. "Hello, Mr. Evans." Chloe's voice could have frozen water. "Richard brought a very generous donation tonight," Madison said, smooth as silk over broken glass. $2 million for the education initiative." "Generous." Richard laughed. "It's an investment. Good publicity. Good optics. You understand optics, don't you, Madison?" Something in his tone made Chloe's stomach turn. He wasn't talking to her mother. He was positioning pieces on a board game only he could see. The auction started at 8. A Basquiat. A villa in Positano. A private concert. Madison bid on nothing. She was calculating the exact moment she could leave without offending the major donors. Then a woman with a headset touched her elbow. "Mrs. Hale, you're presenting in 5 minutes." Madison's blood went cold. "Presenting what?" "The education award. It's been on the schedule for 3 weeks." She hadn't read the schedule, hadn't even asked her assistant to brief her. She'd assumed showing up was enough, but admitting that in front of donors who expected perfection would be worse than winging it. So she stood, smoothed her dress, and walked toward the stage like she'd planned this all along. Chloe watched her mother disappear into a spotlight that turned her into someone else. Someone smooth. Someone perfect. Someone who definitely wasn't the woman who used to read bedtime stories in funny voices before Daddy died and everything got sharp and cold. Madison reached the microphone, smiled, began the speech she'd given 100 variations of before. Education isn't charity. It's investment in human potential. Every child deserves access to opportunity regardless of zip code or bank account. Tonight we honor organizations making that possible. Beautiful words. Empty as a museum after closing. The audience nodded. Someone checked their Rolex. A waiter refilled water glasses that didn't need refilling. Chloe felt something crack inside her chest. She didn't plan what happened next. Planning would have required thinking past the white noise in her head. She just stood up. Her chair scraped against marble. The sound cut through Vivaldi like a knife. She walked. Each step echoed. Heads turned in slow motion. Whispers started like rustling leaves before a storm. By the time she reached the stage stairs, 300 people had stopped pretending to listen to Madison's speech. "Chloe, sweetheart, I'm almost finished." But Chloe climbed those stairs like she was storming a castle. She walked straight to the microphone, grabbed it with both hands and pulled it down to her height. The feedback screech made everyone flinch. Then silence. The kind of silence that happens right before the world changes. "Mom." Her voice shook but held. "When do I get a dad I actually like?" Madison's face drained to the color of paper. 500 people forgot how to breathe. Phone cameras rose like a swarm of lightning bugs. The event coordinator looked like she was having a stroke. Chloe's hands gripped the microphone stand. "You keep bringing men to dinner who talk about their jobs and check their phones and ask me how school is, like they're reading from a script. I smile and say fine, and they never ask another question. I'm tired of pretending they're nice. I'm tired of acting like everything's fine when it's not. When do we get someone who actually cares?" A photographer's flash went off. Then another. Then 50. The room exploded in light. Madison's entire life flashed before her eyes. Tomorrow's headlines. Emergency board meetings. Stock prices plummeting. Everything she'd built since Thomas died cracking like ice under pressure. She could fix this. Smile. Deflect. Remove Chloe from the stage and handle this behind closed doors like powerful people do. Spin it into a sweet moment. A child's innocent confusion. But she looked at her daughter's face and saw 2 years of loneliness staring back at her. 2 years of eating breakfast alone. 2 years of goodnight kisses rushed between conference calls. 2 years of watching Madison choose everything else first. Her daughter wasn't being bratty. She was being honest for the first time since the funeral. And she was doing it in front of 500 people, because that was the only way to make Madison actually listen. The silence stretched. Madison felt every camera on her face, every judgment forming, every gossip column writing itself in real time. Then she knelt down on the stage. Designer dress, knee on dirty floor, eye level with her daughter. "You're right," Chloe blinked. "What?" "You're absolutely right." Madison's voice cracked. "I've been choosing men who fit my schedule instead of our life. I've been so focused on not disrupting the business that I forgot about you. That's not fair. That's not okay." So what happens now? And here's where Madison Hale made the most reckless decision of her entire calculated life. She stood, turned back to the microphone, kept her hand on Chloe's shoulder. "My daughter just asked me the most important question I've heard in 2 years. And she's right. I've been dating men who look impressive on paper but don't fit our family. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to meet people, really meet them. Not at business dinners where we discuss quarterly earnings. In real situations where you see who someone actually is. And Chloe's going to be part of that process. Because this isn't about me finding a partner. This is about us finding family." The ballroom erupted. Not applause. Chaos. Gasps and whispers and shocked laughter. Richard Evans stood near the back, his face twisted in something between horror and rage. A reporter was already live tweeting. Another was filming. The event coordinator had given up on life and was chugging champagne straight from a bottle. I know this sounds insane, Madison continued. I know you're all thinking I've lost my mind. Maybe I have. But my daughter just taught me something in front of all of you. She taught me that honesty matters more than image. And if I can't be honest about something this important, then what's the point of any of this? She gestured at the gala. The wealth, the performance, all of it. Then she took Chloe's hand and walked off the stage. They left through a side exit while the room dissolved into pandemonium behind them. In the car, Chloe shook like a leaf. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to wreck everything. Stop. Madison pulled her daughter close. Don't you dare apologize. You said what needed to be said. I'm the one who should be sorry. I got so obsessed with running the company that I forgot about running our family. Are you really going to let me help pick? Yes, because you were right about those men. They weren't right for us. Madison laughed a little wild. Though I have absolutely no idea how to do this. Maybe we just meet people. Meet people. Right. Simple. Madison's laugh turned hysterical. Except tomorrow, every news outlet on Earth is going to be talking about the CEO who let her 10-year-old hijack a charity gala to demand a better stepfather. She was right. By midnight, the video had 6 million views. By morning, it was on Good Morning America, CNN, BBC World News. CEO launches real love experiment after daughter's public plea. Madison hails unconventional search for family. When a child calls out corporate culture. The takes were hot and infinite. Some called it authentic. Others called it a publicity stunt. Feminist blogs praised Madison for choosing vulnerability over image. Business journals questioned her leadership stability. Twitter turned it into a meme. TikTok turned it into a trend. By noon, Madison's assistant Vanessa had fielded 400 interview requests, 83 messages from men volunteering to be considered, and one very angry call from Richard Evans. You made the company look unstable, he hissed over speakerphone. Stock dropped 3 points this morning. Stock will recover, Madison said. My relationship with my daughter won't if I keep prioritizing image over honesty. This isn't honesty, it's chaos, and the board wants answers. Then tell the board I'll provide answers at the next meeting. Until then, I'm handling this my way. She hung up. Vanessa stared at her like she'd grown a second head. That was Richard Evans, on the board. I know who he is. And you just hung up on him. Yes. Because he thinks my daughter's emotional well-being is a PR problem to manage, and I'm done pretending men like that have the right to dictate my life. Vanessa blinked, then smiled. Okay, so how do we actually do this? They spent the next week sorting through candidates, doctors, lawyers, tech entrepreneurs, a man who claimed to own a private island, another who sent a photo of himself shaking hands with 3 different presidents. These are all terrible, Madison said, scrolling through the 15th message from a man who opened with his net worth. Most of them, yes, but I found 5 serious candidates. Real substance, no scandals, actual careers. The publicity team thinks we should meet them publicly. Control the narrative before it controls us. Madison hated it, but the alternative was letting tabloids write the story. So they selected 5 men who looked perfect on paper. Robert Chen, corporate lawyer, argued cases before the Supreme Court, Yale graduate, published author on constitutional law. Dr. Marcus Webb, cardiac surgeon, ran a free clinic in Harlem, saved hundreds of lives. Noble as hell. David Castellano, architect, designed museums across 3 continents, awards on every wall. Vision people used words like genius to describe. James Griffith, venture capitalist, 17 successful startups, self-made millionaire, the American dream on a business card. Richard Evans, hotel magnate, board member, old money that smelled like leather and entitlement. He'd been pursuing Madison since Thomas's funeral was barely cold, and now he saw this experiment as his official invitation. The publicity team scheduled everything. Dinners, charity events, casual meetings orchestrated down to the minute. The media ate it up. CEO's dating experiment week 1. Camera crews followed them everywhere. The first dinner was with Robert Chen at a Tribeca restaurant that required reservations 6 months in advance. He brought Chloe a book about Supreme Court history. Leather-bound. Probably expensive. "I thought you might find this interesting," he said. "Thank you." Chloe set it on the table. Never opened it once. Robert talked about constitutional law for 45 minutes straight. The separation of powers. Judicial precedent. The evolving interpretation of the Commerce Clause. His pasta went cold. His water glass stayed full. He didn't notice either. Chloe counted ceiling tiles. Madison watched her daughter's eyes glaze over and felt her chest tighten. "Chloe, do you have any questions for Robert?" Madison tried. "Not really." Robert didn't notice the tone. He launched into an explanation of appellate procedure. Chloe excused herself to the bathroom and stayed there for 10 minutes. When they got home, Chloe said, "He talked at me, not to me." "He's passionate about his work." "So are you. But you ask me questions." Madison had no response. Her daughter was right. Dr. Webb took them to his clinic the following week. It was genuinely impressive. He'd built a facility that served underserved communities with dignity and excellent care. He showed them the exam rooms, introduced them to nurses who clearly adored him. He talked about health equity with real passion. "This is amazing," Madison said, meaning it. "It matters." Dr. Webb smiled. "Healthcare shouldn't be a luxury." "Do you have kids?" Chloe asked. He checked his watch. 2. Teenagers. "I need to be at the hospital in 45 minutes, actually. Emergency surgery scheduled." The visit felt like a tour, not a conversation. Impressive but distant. Like watching someone's life through glass. In the car afterward, Chloe said, "He saves lives." "He does. But he didn't have time to eat lunch with us." Madison wanted to argue, but lunch had been cut short, and Dr. Webb had checked his watch 4 times in 30 minutes. David Castellano met them at his latest project, a museum renovation in Chelsea. Glass and steel and architectural vision that probably made sense to people who understood architectural vision. He showed Chloe his sketches, talked about load-bearing walls and natural light optimization. He was clearly brilliant, also clearly more interested in buildings than the small human standing next to him. "What do you think?" he asked Chloe. "It's nice." "Nice." He laughed. "It's revolutionary. See how the cantilevered section creates negative space that comments on the absence of colonial narratives in traditional museum design." "Cool." Chloe's voice was flatter than the blueprints. Madison saw her daughter checking the exit. She felt it too. This wasn't bad. It just wasn't right. James Griffith tried harder. He took them to a Knicks game, bought Chloe cotton candy and foam fingers, made jokes about terrible referees. For 2 hours, it was actually fun. Then the fourth quarter started, and his phone rang. A deal closing. He took the call. Spent 20 minutes negotiating while Chloe tugged his sleeve trying to show him the mascot dancing. He didn't notice. Not once. Afterward, he apologized. "Work emergency. You understand." Madison understood. That was the problem. She understood exactly how easy it was to prioritize work over the small human asking for your attention. Richard Evans was the smoothest of them all. He'd known Madison for years, understood her world, spoke her language. He took them to a private island for a weekend, arranged horseback riding, hired a chef who'd worked in Michelin star restaurants. It was perfect on paper. A fairy tale with a helicopter ride and sunset views. But Chloe watched. She watched how he snapped at waiters, how he interrupted Madison mid-sentence, how he talked about money like it was the only thing that mattered. On the boat ride back to Manhattan, she tugged her mother's sleeve. "Can we stop?" "Stop what, honey? All of this. None of these guys are right. We've only met them a couple times. People take time to really know. Mom, Chloe looked up at her. You know in 5 minutes if someone's kind. These guys are successful. They're just not, they don't feel like family. Madison wanted to argue, but every word her daughter said was true. These men fit Madison's checklist perfectly. They didn't fit their life at all. The problem was, she'd committed publicly. The media documented every meeting. The board analyzed every appearance. Stock prices fluctuated based on which candidate seemed most stable. Backing out now would confirm every critic who said this whole thing was a disaster. Then the elevator broke. It was a Tuesday. Madison was touring a construction site for a new Hale Enterprises building downtown. David Castellano's project. He'd invited her to see the progress, hoping another meeting might create chemistry that hadn't materialized at the museum. Chloe came along because school had parent-teacher conferences, and Madison refused to leave her home alone anymore. Small victories. They stepped into the construction elevator with David and 2 workers. The doors closed. The elevator lurched upward. The building was 30 floors of unfinished concrete and exposed rebar. They were heading to the 20th floor. They made it to 14. Then the elevator stopped. Not a gentle stop. A violent jerk that threw everyone against the walls. The lights flickered. Someone's hard hat clattered to the floor. The metal box swayed. What happened? Chloe's voice went high and thin. Just a mechanical issue. David pressed the emergency button. Nothing happened. He pressed it again. Harder. Still nothing. The system's not responding. The elevator swayed again. Chloe grabbed Madison's arm hard enough to leave marks. Mom, we're okay. We're okay. But Madison's heart was hammering against her ribs because she had no idea if that was true. I don't like this. Mom, I really don't like this. Chloe's breathing was speeding up, fast and shallow, panic attack incoming. David pulled out his phone. No signal. The workers tried theirs. Nothing. They were in a metal box suspended between floors with no way to call for help. Mom, I can't breathe. I can't breathe right. Yes, you can. Look at me. Madison crouched down, holding her daughter's face in both hands. You're having a panic attack. It's scary, but you're safe. I promise you're safe. But Chloe's eyes were wide with terror, and Madison could feel her own panic rising, because how could she promise safety when they were stuck in an elevator at a construction site? How long before someone noticed? How stable was this thing? What if the cables? A voice came from outside the elevator. Male. Calm as Sunday morning. Hey there. My name's Daniel. I'm on the other side of this door. Can everyone hear me? Yes, Madison called out. We can hear you. Good. That's good. I'm the site maintenance supervisor. I'm going to get you out, but I need everyone to stay calm. Can you do that for me? There's a child in here. She's scared. A pause. Then, what's your name, sweetheart? Chloe looked at the closed doors. Chloe. That's a beautiful name, Chloe. I know this is really scary right now. I need you to do something for me, though. Can you take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth? Nice and slow. I can't. Yes, you can. I'm going to count for you. Ready. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it with me. Something in his voice was different. Not condescending, not panicked. Just steady. Like he'd been here before and knew the way out. Madison watched her daughter follow the stranger's instructions. Once. Twice. 3 times. Chloe's shoulders dropped. Her breathing slowed. That's perfect, Chloe. You're doing great. Now I need you to keep breathing like that while I work out here. Your mom's with you, right? Yes, Madison said. Then you're going to be fine. I'm going to manually release the doors. It's going to make some loud noises, but that's normal. Don't be scared of the sounds. They mean I'm getting closer to getting you out. Okay. Okay. For the next 10 minutes, they listened to metal grinding against metal. Mechanical sounds that should have been terrifying, but somehow weren't, because that voice kept talking. Calm. Steady. Telling Chloe about his own son Ethan, who got panic attacks sometimes. How they practiced breathing exercises together. How it got easier. He didn't tell her it would be fine. He told her it would be hard, but she could handle hard things. The difference mattered. Then the doors cracked open. 6 inches. Light poured through the gap like salvation. Hands appeared. Strong hands, grease-stained and calloused. They pulled the doors wider, 12 inches, 18, 2 feet. All right, let's get you folks out. Chloe, you first. Madison helped her daughter through the opening. She glimpsed the man on the other side. Tall, work uniform, dark hair going gray at the temples. He lifted Chloe through the gap like she weighed nothing. There you go. You did so good. I'm proud of you. Then he helped Madison through. Then David. Then the workers. When everyone was safely on solid ground, Madison finally got a good look at him. He was maybe 45. Kind eyes. Weathered hands that looked like they'd built things and fixed things and knew the difference. His uniform had a name tag, Daniel Brooks Maintenance. Thank you. Madison's voice shook. Thank you so much. Just doing my job, ma'am. He was already examining the elevator mechanism, all business. I'm going to need to shut this whole system down until we figure out what caused the failure. Could have been a sensor malfunction or a cable issue. Either way, nobody uses this elevator until it's cleared. You're an engineer, Madison said, not a question. He paused. Something flickered across his face. Something that looked like old pain. Used to be. Now I fix things when they break. Same skills, different pay grade. He turned to Chloe. You feeling better? She nodded. You knew exactly what to say. My son Ethan gets panic attacks sometimes. You learn what helps. He smiled at her, genuine and warm. Then he turned back to his clipboard. You folks should take the stairs. I'll file a safety report with the site manager. That was it. No business card, no attempt to network, no asking if Madison remembered him or mentioning he'd once run his own engineering firm before a lawsuit destroyed everything. He'd just done his job and was walking away. Wait, Madison said. What's your name again? Daniel Brooks. Thank you, Daniel. He nodded. Then he was gone. Back to fixing things nobody else noticed were broken. In the car, Chloe was quiet for a long time. Then she said, He was nice. Who? Daniel. The elevator man. He was actually nice. Madison thought about the 5 polished candidates she was supposed to be choosing from. The lawyer who talked at her daughter. The doctor who checked his watch. The architect who loved buildings more than people. The investor who prioritized phone calls. Richard Evans, who treated kindness like weakness. None of them had made Chloe's face light up the way it did talking about a maintenance worker she'd known for 12 minutes. Yeah, Madison said slowly. He was. She didn't think more about it. There were board meetings to manage. Richard Evans had called 3 times demanding she end this experiment before it damaged the company further. The publicity team wanted to schedule more dates. The media was tracking everything like it was the Super Bowl. But 2 weeks later, Madison was leaving her office at Hale Enterprises headquarters around 9 p.m. Late night. Most of the building empty. She was heading toward the elevator when she saw him. Daniel. Not at a construction site. Right here, in her building. Pushing a maintenance cart down the executive floor hallway. She stopped walking. He looked up. Recognition crossed his face. Mrs. Hale, how's your daughter doing? She's good. Better. She's been practicing that breathing thing you taught her. Works like magic. Madison paused. You work here. 3 nights a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I work 4 different buildings, actually. Contract basis. Pays better than one full-time position. He said it matter-of-factly. No shame. No defensiveness. Just facts. I had no idea. Most people don't notice maintenance staff. We're kind of invisible. He said it lightly, but Madison heard the truth underneath. How many times had she walked past people who kept this building running without actually seeing them? The elevator thing, she said. That wasn't just knowing what to say to calm a kid down. You knew exactly what was wrong mechanically. You knew how to manually override the system. Something shuddered in his expression, like a door closing. Yeah, previous life. What happened? Long story. Involves a lawsuit, some partners who weren't actually partners, and a whole lot of legal fees that ate everything I'd spent 15 years building. He started pushing the cart again. Anyway, I should get back to it. Third-floor bathrooms don't clean themselves. Good seeing you again. Wait. Madison didn't know why she said it. Do you have kids? Daniel stopped, turned back. A son, Ethan. He's 12. Does he like basketball? Yeah. Confused now. Chloe has tickets to a game this weekend. Corporate box at Madison Square Garden. Knicks versus Celtics. There are extra seats. Way too many, actually, if you and your son want to come. She heard herself making the offer and felt completely insane. But also something else. Curious. Interested. Aware that this maintenance worker had done more for her daughter in 12 minutes than 5 successful men had done in 5 weeks. Daniel studied her for a long moment. Really looked at her. Then he said, "You're the CEO doing that public dating thing." Unfortunately, yes. And you're inviting the janitor to a basketball game. I'm inviting the man who helped my daughter when she was terrified. There's a difference. He was quiet. Really quiet. Then he smiled. Small and genuine, and nothing like the practiced smiles she got from men who wanted something from her. Okay, yeah, Ethan would love that. Thank you. He gave her his number. She gave him the details. Saturday, 6 p.m. Tickets at will call under his name. Then he left with his maintenance cart, and Madison stood in the empty hallway, wondering what exactly she'd just done, and why it felt like the first honest decision she'd made in weeks. Her phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa. Board meeting moved to tomorrow morning. Richard wants to discuss your quote-unquote declining judgment, unquote. Fair warning, he's bringing lawyers. Madison stared at the message, then at the hallway where Daniel had disappeared, then back at her phone. She texted back, "Let him bring whoever he wants. I'm done making decisions based on what the board thinks is appropriate." Tomorrow was going to be a war. But tonight, for the first time in 2 years, Madison felt like she might actually be doing something right. The board meeting started at 7 a.m., which meant Richard Evans wanted everyone tired and defensive. Madison arrived at 6:50 with coffee she didn't drink and a smile that could cut glass. Richard sat at the head of the table like he owned it. 3 lawyers flanked him. 2 board members who always voted with him sat to his right. The message was clear. This wasn't a discussion, it was an ambush. Madison, thank you for making time. Richard's voice dripped with false courtesy. We need to address this dating experiment before it causes irreparable damage to the company's reputation. Stock recovered, Madison said. We're up 2 points since last week. Stock isn't the only measure of stability. Investor confidence is shaken. 3 major clients have expressed concerns about leadership focus, and frankly, letting a child dictate corporate decision-making sets a dangerous precedent. My daughter didn't dictate anything. She asked an honest question and I gave an honest answer. Honest? Richard laughed. It sounded like ice cracking. You humiliated yourself on national television. You're parading eligible bachelors around like this is the Bachelorette. You're making this company look like a joke. The company's doing fine. Is it? He slid a folder across the table. That's the Patterson account. $20 million annually. They're threatening to pull out unless we can guarantee stable leadership. Their exact words were, "We don't do business with reality shows." Madison opened the folder, read the email. Her stomach dropped, but she kept her face neutral. Patterson's been looking for an excuse to renegotiate terms for 6 months. This isn't about stability. It's about leverage. Then there's the Hoffman merger. Richard slid another folder. They want assurance that personal drama won't interfere with business operations. They're considering other options. Let them consider. We don't need Hoffman. You're willing to lose $40 million to prove a point about parenting. I'm willing to lose $40 million to not raise my daughter in a world where honesty is considered weakness. Madison leaned forward. You want to talk about dangerous precedents, Richard? Let's talk about the precedent of telling a 10-year-old that her feelings don't matter because they're inconvenient for quarterly earnings. This isn't about feelings. It's about fiduciary responsibility. It's about control. You're angry because I made a decision without asking your permission first. Richard's jaw tightened. I'm angry because you're jeopardizing everything your husband built. The room went silent. That was a low blow, and everyone knew it. Madison stood up. Thomas built a company that values innovation and authenticity. He built it because he believed business should serve life, not the other way around. So don't you dare use his memory to justify your need to control me. She walked out. Left the lawyers and folders and Richard Evans sitting there. Her hands shook in the elevator, but she didn't let herself cry until she got to her office. Vanessa appeared with tissues and more coffee. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Madison wiped her eyes. Did I just destroy everything? Patterson was bluffing. Hoffman might be serious, but they need us more than we need them. Richard's scared. Of what? You. He's been positioning himself as the power behind the throne since Thomas died. If you start making unilateral decisions, his influence disappears. This isn't about the dating experiment, it's about who runs this company. Madison stared out her window at Manhattan stretched below. He's going to fight me on everything now. Probably. But you've got the majority of the board and the employees love you. Richard's got 3 loyalists and a lot of money. It's not a fair fight, but it's winnable. I don't want to fight. I just want to raise my daughter without sacrificing my humanity. Then you're in the wrong industry. Vanessa smiled. But I'm glad you're trying anyway. Saturday came faster than Madison expected. She told herself the basketball game was just a thank you, a kind gesture for someone who'd helped them. Nothing more. She told herself that while picking out jeans instead of a business suit, while applying makeup lighter than usual, while checking her reflection 3 times before leaving. Chloe noticed. You look pretty, Mom. I always look pretty. You look happy pretty. That's different. They met Daniel and Ethan outside Madison Square Garden. Ethan was all nervous energy and excited, talking the way 12-year-old boys are when they're trying to play it cool, but failing. He had his father's eyes and a Knicks jersey that had seen better days. Mr. Brooks. Madison shook Daniel's hand. His grip was firm and warm. Daniel's fine. This is Ethan. Hi. Ethan's voice cracked. He turned red. Chloe smiled at him. Have you been to a game before? On TV, never in real life. The hot dogs are really good, and you can see everything from the corporate box. They headed inside. The arena was filling up, thousands of people, energy buzzing like electricity. Madison watched Ethan's face light up when he saw the court. This is insane, he breathed. Dad, look how close we are. Pretty close, Daniel agreed. But he was looking at Madison when he said it. They settled into the corporate box. Leather seats, private bar, a spread of food that could feed 20 people. Ethan's eyes went wide. Is all this for us? Help yourself, Madison said. Chloe, show him where the good stuff is. The kids loaded up plates and disappeared to seats near the glass, which left Madison and Daniel alone at the bar. This is incredibly generous, Daniel said. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. Chloe hasn't stopped talking about you since the elevator thing. You made an impression. I just did what anyone would do. No, you did what someone who actually understands panic attacks would do. There's a difference. Madison poured herself water. How long has your son been dealing with them? 3 years. Started after his mom died. Madison's hand froze on the bottle. I'm sorry. I didn't know. How would you... It's not exactly something that comes up in small talk. Daniel's voice was gentle, not bitter. Cancer. Took 18 months from diagnosis to the end. Ethan was 9, old enough to understand what was happening, but too young to process it. Chloe was 8 when Thomas died. Helicopter crash. One day he was here, the next he wasn't. No warning, no goodbye. They stood in silence for a moment. Two people who understood the specific shape of that kind of loss. Does it get easier? Madison asked. Different, not easier. You learn to carry it better. Chloe has nightmares. Had them every night for a year. They're getting better now, but sometimes she still wakes up crying. Ethan sleeps with the hall light on. He's 12, and still scared of the dark because his mom died at night, and now darkness feels dangerous. Madison looked at him. Really looked. The breathing exercises. You developed those together. Therapists taught us. But yeah, we practice them. Sometimes in the car before school. Sometimes at 3 a.m. when the nightmares are bad. You do what works. You're a good father. I'm a broke father working 3 jobs who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens and can't afford the kind of therapy my son probably needs. But I'm trying. Trying is the whole game. Madison paused. What happened with your career? You said lawsuit. Daniel's expression closed slightly. Not angry, just careful. I had an engineering firm, small but growing. I designed sustainable infrastructure for developing communities, clean water systems, power grids, that kind of thing. Had 2 partners. Turned out they were billing clients for materials we never used and pocketing the difference. When the clients found out, they sued everyone, including me. But you didn't know. Doesn't matter. My name was on the contracts. I lost everything defending myself. The business, the house. My wife's medical bills ate the rest. By the time she died, we had nothing left except debt and each other. That's not fair. Fair doesn't factor into it. I made bad choices about who to trust. I paid for those choices. Now I fix elevators and clean toilets and make sure my son eats 3 meals a day. It's honest work. It's beneath your skill level. Skill doesn't pay the bills when your reputation's destroyed. Daniel smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm not complaining. I've got Ethan. I've got work. That's more than a lot of people have. The game started. Chloe and Ethan were glued to the action, cheering when the Knicks scored, groaning at bad calls. Between quarters, they argued about players and statistics with the intensity of sports analysts. They're getting along, Madison observed. Ethan doesn't make friends easily. He's too worried about saying the wrong thing. Daniel watched his son laugh at something Chloe said. This is good for him. Chloe's been lonely. I work too much. She's in private school with kids whose parents are all like me, busy, distracted, always checking phones. You're here now, that counts. I'm here because my daughter publicly humiliated me into realizing I was failing her. You're here because you listened when she needed you to. Most parents don't. Daniel turned to her. You're doing better than you think. Something in his voice made Madison's chest tight. When was the last time someone had said that to her? When was the last time someone had looked at her and seen past the CEO to the mother underneath who was terrified of getting it all wrong? The Knicks won by 12 points. Ethan was euphoric. Chloe was hoarse from screaming. They left the arena buzzed on sugar and excitement. This was the best night ever, Ethan announced. Dad, can we come back? These tickets cost more than our rent, buddy. I've got season tickets, Madison said. Corporate box just sits empty most games. You should use it. Daniel stared at her. Madison, I can't. Why not? It's going to waste otherwise. Chloe clearly enjoys having someone to watch with who actually cares about the game. And Ethan loved it. So why not? Because I'm a janitor and you're a CEO and this feels like charity. It's not charity. It's friendship. The word surprised her as she said it, but it felt right. We're both single parents trying to raise kids after losing our partners. We both know what panic attacks at 3 a.m. look like. We both understand how hard it is to keep going when everything fell apart. That's not charity. That's just understanding each other. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, but I'm buying hot dogs next time. Deal. They said goodbye on the street. Ethan hugged Chloe, which made her blush and made him turn red. Daniel shook Madison's hand again. His palm was warm. She didn't want to let go. In the car, Chloe was quiet until they hit the bridge. Then she said, I like him. Ethan. Both of them. Daniel's nice. Actually nice. Not fake nice like Richard or too busy nice like Dr. Webb. Real nice. He is nice. Are you going to see him again? I don't know. Maybe. You should. Chloe looked out the window. He looked at you like you're a person, not a CEO. Nobody else does that. Madison's throat went tight. Her daughter saw everything. The next week passed in a blur. Madison had 3 board meetings, 2 investor calls, and 1 very tense conversation with Richard Evans, who wanted her to end the dating experiment immediately. You've made your point, he said. You've gotten your press coverage. Time to move on and focus on business. I'm not ending anything. Then at least narrow it down. Pick someone, commit, give the media a conclusion so they stop treating this company like entertainment. I'll commit when I find someone worth committing to. And have you? Richard's smile was sharp. Because from where I'm sitting, you're wasting everyone's time. Madison thought about Daniel. About how he'd talked to Chloe in that elevator. How he'd shared his own pain without making it about himself. How he'd looked at her like she was more than her title. I'm getting closer, she said. Richard didn't like that answer, but he couldn't argue. He left her office with a warning. The board's patience isn't infinite, Madison. Make a decision before they make one for you. That night, Madison texted Daniel. Chloe wants to know if you and Ethan want to come to dinner next week. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, Chloe wants to know, or you want to know. Madison stared at her phone. Deleted 3 responses. Finally typed both. Then yes. They met at a restaurant in Brooklyn. Nothing fancy. A neighborhood Italian place where the pasta was homemade and the owner's grandmother yelled at people in the kitchen. Madison wore jeans. Daniel wore a button-down that looked like he'd ironed it twice. Chloe and Ethan immediately started arguing about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. It got heated. Madison and Daniel laughed. They're very passionate, Daniel said. Chloe gets that from Thomas. He had opinions about everything. Ethan gets it from his mom. She once wrote a 10-page letter to the city council about recycling policy. Did it work? They changed the policy. Daniel smiled. She was terrifying when she believed in something. They ordered food. The kids demolished garlic bread while debating superhero movies. Madison watched Daniel interact with Chloe. He asked her real questions. About school, about friends, about what she wanted to be when she grew up. He listened to her answers like they mattered. An architect, Chloe said. But like for parks and playgrounds. Places kids actually want to be. That's brilliant, Daniel said. You know, there's a whole field called landscape architecture. You could design outdoor spaces that bring communities together. Really? Really. I worked with landscape architects on some of my projects. They're artists who use grass and trees instead of paint. Chloe's eyes lit up. That sounds perfect. Madison felt something crack open in her chest. This man who barely knew her daughter was taking her dreams seriously. He wasn't dismissing her or telling her to be realistic. He was encouraging her. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront. The city skyline glittered across the water. Chloe and Ethan ran ahead throwing rocks at the waves. You're good with her, Madison said. She's easy to be good with. She's smart and funny and honest. You raised her well. I've been raising her badly for 2 years. I'm just starting to fix it. You're here now. That's what matters. Daniel paused. Can I ask you something? Sure. This whole dating experiment thing, the 5 candidates, where does that stand? Madison watched the water. Honestly, it feels like a performance. I'm going through the motions because I committed publicly, and backing out looks like failure. But none of them feel right. Not even Richard Evans. Especially not Richard Evans. He wants to own me, not love me. There's a difference. There is. Daniel's voice was quiet. So why keep doing it? Because I don't know what else to do. I made this big announcement about choosing honestly and letting Chloe have input. If I just stop, what does that teach her? That we give up when things get hard. It teaches her that you're allowed to change your mind when something isn't working. Madison looked at him. Is that what you tell Ethan? All the time. I used to be an engineer making 6 figures. Now I'm a janitor, making $22 an hour. I had to teach him that there's no shame in changing direction when life forces your hand. You didn't choose that change. Neither did you. Your husband died. Mine did too. We're both just trying to build something new from what's left. And sometimes building something new means admitting the old plan doesn't fit anymore. They walked in silence for a while. The kids' laughter carried on the wind. I like spending time with you, Madison said. That feels important to say. I like spending time with you too. But I'm technically still in the middle of this public dating thing. And you're not one of the 5 candidates. And Richard Evans is probably going to lose his mind if he finds out I'm having dinner with the building maintenance guy. Then don't tell him. Daniel smiled. Or do. I don't know your life. But for what it's worth, I don't care about your board or your press coverage or your public image. I care about whether you're happy and whether Chloe's happy. That's the whole equation for me. It should be the whole equation for everyone. But it's not, which is why you're stuck managing 5 candidates you don't actually like while trying to prove something to people who wouldn't understand even if you explained it. Madison laughed. It felt good. You see through everything, don't you? I've got nothing to lose. Makes it easier to be honest. They said goodbye at the subway station. Daniel was taking Ethan home on the train. Madison had called a car. The difference in their lives was obvious, but somehow didn't matter. Chloe hugged Ethan goodbye. Then she hugged Daniel. He looked surprised but hugged her back. In the car, Chloe said, he should be one of the candidates. He's not interested in that circus. Because it's a circus. If you actually like him, why do you need 4 other guys? Because I already told the world I'd meet 5 people and choose honestly. So choose honestly. Tell the world you like Daniel. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You're making it complicated. Chloe crossed her arms. You said I got to help choose. I choose him. Baby Daniel's not part of the official process. Then the process is stupid. Chloe's voice shook. You said we'd find someone who fits our family. He fits. Ethan fits. Why doesn't that matter? Madison didn't have a good answer, because the truth was, her daughter was right. Daniel fit in a way none of the polished candidates did. But admitting that meant facing Richard and the board, and the media circus that would explode if she chose the janitor over the surgeon, and the lawyer, and the architect. She was a CEO. She made billion-dollar decisions every day. But she couldn't figure out how to choose the man who made her daughter laugh over the men who made her company look stable. The universe decided to make the choice harder. 3 days later, Madison was in her office when Vanessa burst in without knocking. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Someone leaked internal emails about you and Daniel, about the basketball game, and the dinner. Madison's blood went cold. Who leaked them? Don't know. But Richard Evans just called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. He's pushing for a vote of no confidence. On what grounds? That you're making decisions based on personal relationships instead of business interests. that you're dating an employee which violates company policy, that your judgment is compromised. Daniel's not an employee. He's a contract worker for the building management company. Richard doesn't care about technicalities. He cares about optics. And the optics are that you're sneaking around with the janitor while publicly dating 5 successful men. It looks messy. It looks unstable. Madison wanted to throw something. This is about control. Richard wants me out so he can run the company himself. Obviously, but he's using Daniel to do it. And it might work. Vanessa's voice was tight with worry. You need to make a choice, Madison. End things with Daniel and focus on the official candidates, or go all in with Daniel and prepare for war with the board. Those are my options, lie or fight. Those are always the options when you're a woman in power who wants something for herself. Madison stared out her window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Daniel was fixing someone's elevator. Ethan was at school. Chloe was learning math and dreaming about designing parks. All of them just trying to live honest lives. And here she was, trapped in a tower, being told she had to choose between honesty and survival. She thought about Thomas, about how he'd built this company on the idea that business should serve life, about how he'd always told her that the moment you compromise your values for profit, you've already lost. Schedule the meeting, Madison said. Tell Richard I'll be there. What are you going to do? I'm going to choose honestly, like I promised my daughter I would. Madison, I know the risks. I know this could cost me everything. But Chloe's watching, and I'd rather lose a company than teach her that love has to hide to survive. Vanessa smiled. You're either the bravest person I know or the craziest. Probably both. That night, Madison called Daniel, told him what was happening, apologized for dragging him into corporate warfare. It's not your fault, he said. It is. If I hadn't invited you to that game, I'm glad you did. Ethan's glad you did. Don't apologize for being kind. Richard's going to come after you. He's going to dig into your past, find the lawsuit, use it against us both. Let him. I've got nothing to hide. I lost my business because I trusted the wrong people. That's not a secret. It's just my life. You could lose your job. I've lost everything before. I survived. I'll survive again. Daniel paused. But Madison, if this is too much, if the board fight is too big, I understand. You've got Chloe to think about. You've got responsibilities I don't have. If you need to walk away from this from us, I won't hold it against you. Is that what you want? No, but what I want doesn't factor into it. You have to do what's right for your family. What's right for my family is showing my daughter that you don't abandon people who matter just because things get difficult. Silence on the line. Then Daniel's voice rough with emotion. Okay then. We fight. We fight. Madison hung up and looked at her reflection in the window. She barely recognized herself. 2 months ago, she would have sacrificed anything to avoid this kind of conflict. Would have ended things quietly and married Richard Evans or someone like him just to keep the peace. But that woman hadn't listened when her daughter begged for honesty. That woman had been so focused on appearing strong that she'd forgotten what strength actually meant. This woman, the one staring back from the glass, was different. Messier, scarier, more honest. This woman was ready to burn it all down if that's what it took to build something real. The board meeting was scheduled for 8 a.m. Madison arrived at 7:30 with a legal team, a folder full of documents, and a fury so cold it could freeze the sun. Richard was already there, with his lawyers, with 3 board members who always voted his way, with a smile that said he thought he'd already won. Madison, thank you for coming. Let's skip the pleasantries, Richard. Tell me what you want. I want what's best for this company, which is stable leadership, which you're currently not providing. Because I went to a basketball game with someone you don't approve of. Because you're having a relationship with a janitor while publicly pretending to date more appropriate candidates. It's deceptive. It undermines trust. It makes the company look chaotic. The company's performance is up. Stock is stable. Clients are satisfied. Where's the chaos? Richard slid a folder across the table. That's an internal analysis of media coverage over the past 6 weeks. 73% of stories about Hale Enterprises mention your dating experiment. Only 28% mention actual business operations. You've turned this company into a tabloid story. Or I've humanized a corporation and shown that business leaders are real people with real lives. That's not weakness, Richard. That's connection. It's distraction. He opened another folder. And this is Daniel Brooks's background, sued by 4 clients, lost his business, declared bankruptcy, currently working 3 minimum wage jobs. Is this really the man you want representing our family's legacy? He's not representing anything. He's a person I care about. Who's completely inappropriate for someone in your position? Madison stood up. Let me be very clear about something, Richard. I didn't build this company. Thomas did. And he built it because he believed business should serve people, not the other way around. He believed success without humanity is just expensive failure. So don't talk to me about legacy when you wouldn't recognize his values if they were written in gold across your office wall. Thomas would never have approved of this relationship. Thomas would have approved of me choosing happiness over appearances, which is more than I can say for you. Then let's put it to a vote. Richard looked around the table. All in favor of issuing a vote of no confidence in Madison Hale's leadership, raise your hand. 3 hands went up. Richard's allies. The rest of the board stayed still. Richard's smile faltered. That's 3 votes. And you need 5 for a majority, Madison said, which means you lose again. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Because I'm done playing your games, Richard. I'm done pretending my personal life is a business decision. I'm done letting you use my grief and my daughter's needs as leverage to control this company. You want to fight me, fine, but do it in the boardroom where it belongs. Leave Daniel out of it. She walked out before he could respond. Her legs were shaking, but she didn't let it show until she reached her office. Vanessa was waiting. How bad? 3 votes for no confidence. Not enough. So you won. For now. But Richard's not done. He's going to keep pushing until something breaks. Then we push back harder. Vanessa's eyes were bright. You've got the employees. You've got most of the board. You've got public support from the dating experiment. Richard's got money and 3 loyalists. It's not even close to a fair fight. It feels close. That's because you're tired. Go home. See your daughter. See Daniel. Remember why you're doing this. Madison did exactly that. She left the office at 3 p.m., picked up Chloe from school herself for the first time in months. They got ice cream and walked through Central Park and talked about nothing important. Did you fight the board? Chloe asked. How did you know? You always pick me up early when something big happens, and you look mad. I am mad, but I won. Because of Daniel. Because Richard doesn't like that I care about Daniel more than I care about what Richard thinks. Chloe licked her ice cream cone. Good. Richard's mean. He's afraid. People who are afraid do mean things. What's he afraid of? That he doesn't matter as much as he thinks he does. They sat on a bench watching joggers and dogs and tourists taking photos. Normal people living normal lives. Not corporate warfare, not board meetings, just life happening. Mom, Chloe's voice was small. Are you going to marry Daniel? Madison's heart stopped. What? You like him. I like him. Ethan's nice. So are you going to marry him? Baby, it's way too soon for that conversation. Why? You've been meeting guys for weeks. You said you were looking for family. Daniel feels like family already. It's complicated. Only because you're making it complicated. Chloe finished her ice cream. Grown-ups are weird. You meet someone nice, and instead of just being happy, you have board meetings about it. Madison laughed despite everything. You're absolutely right. Grown-ups are weird. So stop being weird. Just be happy. If only it were that simple. But maybe Madison thought maybe it actually was that simple, and she'd just forgotten how to see it. That night, after Chloe was asleep, Madison texted Daniel. "Can you talk?" He called immediately. What happened? She told him everything. The board meeting, Richard's attack, the vote, the win that didn't feel like winning. "I'm sorry," Daniel said when she finished. "This is my fault." "It's not. It's Richard's fault for thinking he owns my life." "Still, you shouldn't have to fight your own board because of me." "I'm not fighting because of you. I'm fighting because I'm tired of living in a world where honesty is considered a liability." Madison paused. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What do you want from this? From us, if there is an us?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, always. I want to come home to someone who's excited I'm there. I want to make dinner while Ethan does homework and talk about normal things like what happened at school and what we're watching on TV. I want to fall asleep next to someone who knows my worst days and stays anyway. I don't need money or status or impressive titles. I just want someone who shows up. That's the whole dream." Madison felt tears running down her face. "That sounds perfect." "What about you? What do you want?" "I want someone who sees me, not the CEO, not the board member, not the woman whose husband died and left her a billion-dollar company. Just me. Madison. The person who doesn't know what she's doing most of the time and is terrified of failing her daughter and needs someone to tell her it's going to be okay." "It's going to be okay." "You can't know that." "No. But I can promise I'll be there anyway." And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. Madison was in a meeting with the design team when Vanessa burst through the door, face pale. "We need to talk. Now." Madison excused herself and followed Vanessa into the hallway. "What happened?" "Richard filed a formal complaint with the board. He's claiming Daniel has access to sensitive company information through his maintenance work. Says it's a security risk. He's demanding Daniel's contract be terminated immediately." "That's insane. Daniel cleans offices after hours. He doesn't have access to anything classified." "Doesn't matter. Richard's got the security director backing him up. They're saying any personal relationship with building staff creates potential for corporate espionage." "Corporate espionage, Daniel fixes toilets." "I know, but Richard's framing it as a liability issue. And 3 board members are nervous enough to listen." Vanessa's voice dropped. "There's more. He's threatening to leak Daniel's bankruptcy records to the press. Paint him as someone who's taking advantage of you financially." Madison felt rage so pure it made her vision white. "He wouldn't. He absolutely would. This isn't about security. It's about destroying Daniel's reputation so thoroughly that you have no choice but to end things. Then we fight back. With what Richard's got, lawyers and money and board support. What do we have? The truth." Madison pulled out her phone. "And I'm done hiding it." She walked straight to her office, opened her laptop and started typing. Vanessa watched over her shoulder. "What are you doing?" "Writing a statement. For the press. About Daniel. About everything." "Madison, that's exactly what Richard wants. He wants you to go public so he can paint you as unstable. Then let him try. I'm tired of playing defense." Madison's fingers flew across the keyboard. "I spent 2 years being the perfect widow, the perfect CEO, the perfect mother. And you know what, I was failing at all of it because I was so focused on looking perfect that I forgot to be real. Daniel reminded me what real looks like. And I'm not throwing that away because Richard Evans is scared of losing control." She finished typing. Read it once, hit send before she could second-guess herself. The statement went live on the company website at 2 p.m. By 2:15, every major news outlet had picked it up. Madison Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises, released a statement today addressing her relationship with Daniel Brooks, a maintenance worker who saved her daughter from an elevator malfunction 6 weeks ago. In the statement, Hale writes, "I've spent the past 2 months meeting successful, accomplished men who look perfect on paper. But my daughter taught me that perfection on paper doesn't equal connection in real life. Daniel Brooks is kind, honest, and present in a way that matters more than any resume. He's also been through hell and came out the other side still believing in goodness. That's the kind of person I want in my life. That's the kind of person I want my daughter to see me choose. If that makes me a bad CEO in some people's eyes, so be it. I'd rather be a good mother. The internet exploded. Half the responses were supportive. Finally, a CEO who's honest about what matters. This is what real love looks like. Her daughter is learning the best lesson possible. The other half was vicious. Billionaire slumming with janitor for publicity. CEO proves women let emotions override business sense. Gold digger targets vulnerable widow. Richard Evans gave an interview to CNBC within 3 hours. Madison Hale is a talented businesswoman going through a difficult personal time. Unfortunately, her judgment has become clouded by grief and the pressure of single parenthood. The board is monitoring the situation closely. The translation was clear. She's unstable, and we're coming for her position. Madison turned off her phone at 6 p.m. and went home. Chloe was doing homework at the kitchen counter. "Everyone at school saw your thing about Daniel," Chloe said without looking up. "I know. I'm sorry if that made things weird." It didn't. Mostly people thought it was cool. Chloe closed her math book. "But Emma Westfield said her dad thinks you're having a nervous breakdown." Emma Westfield's dad sits on the board with Richard Evans. Of course he thinks that. "Are you having a nervous breakdown?" Madison sat down next to her daughter. "No, I'm having a breakthrough. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "A breakdown is when everything falls apart and you can't function. A breakthrough is when you realize the thing you thought was holding you together was actually holding you back." Chloe considered this. So Richard was holding you back. Richard and people like him. People who think success means sacrificing everything else. People who think showing emotion is weakness. Madison tucked hair behind Chloe's ear. "I don't want to be that kind of successful anymore. I want to be the kind of successful where you're happy and I'm happy, and we don't have to pretend to be perfect." That sounds better. It does, doesn't it? Chloe hugged her. "I'm proud of you, Mom." Madison held her daughter and tried not to cry. This 10-year-old had more wisdom than half the board of directors combined. The fallout came faster than expected. By the next morning, 2 major clients had requested meetings to discuss leadership stability. The stock dropped 4 points. Business journals published think pieces about emotion versus rationality in corporate leadership. Richard called another emergency board meeting. This time, Madison brought Daniel. He showed up in a suit that was slightly too big, probably borrowed. His hands were scrubbed clean but still bore the calluses of manual labor. He looked terrified and determined in equal measure. "You don't have to do this," Madison said in the elevator. "Yes, I do. Richard's making this about me. I should be there. He's going to attack you. Your past, your bankruptcy, everything. I know. But if I hide, he wins. And I'm done letting men like him win." The elevator doors opened. They walked into the boardroom together. Richard's face went through several shades of purple. "This is a closed board meeting. He can't be here." "He's here as my guest," Madison said calmly. "Since this meeting is apparently about him, he deserves to hear what's being said." That's highly irregular. So is calling emergency meetings every time you don't like my personal choices. But here we are. They sat. Richard glared. The other board members looked uncomfortable. "Let's get to the point," Richard said. "Madison, your relationship with Mr. Brooks creates multiple liability issues for this company. Security concerns, reputation concerns, questions about your judgment and priorities. Daniel has no access to sensitive information. He cleans offices. That's it. He has access to executive floors, to your office, to documents left on desks. Documents are locked in safes every night. He's been background checked by building security. There's no security risk." "Then let's talk about reputation." Richard pulled out a folder. "Daniel Brooks, declared bankruptcy 3 years ago. Sued by 4 clients for fraud." "For fraud committed by my partners," Daniel said quietly. "Not by me. I was cleared of all charges. But the damage to your reputation was done. And now that damaged reputation is attached to our CEO. Richard looked around the table. What does it say about Madison's judgment that she's chosen a man who lost everything through poor business decisions? It says she chose someone who survived tragedy and kept going. Daniel's voice was steady. I lost my business, my house, my wife. I could have given up. I could have walked away from my son and from responsibility. Instead, I work 3 jobs to keep him fed and housed and in therapy. I fix things. I show up. I do what needs to be done. If that's poor judgment, then I don't want to know what good judgment looks like. The room went quiet. One of the board members, an older woman named Patricia Chen, spoke up. I knew your father, Thomas Hale. He built this company from nothing after his own father squandered the family money on bad investments. He used to say that what matters isn't what you lose, it's what you do after losing it. Sounds like Mr. Brooks understands that better than most of us in this room. Richard's jaw tightened. Patricia, with respect, we're not discussing philosophy. We're discussing whether Madison's personal choices are damaging company interests. And I'm saying they're not. Stock will recover. Clients will stay because our performance is strong. And frankly, Richard, this crusade of yours looks more like jealousy than concern. Jealousy? Richard's voice went dangerous. I've been protecting this company while Madison turns it into a reality show. You've been trying to control Madison since Thomas died, Patricia shot back. We all know it. You thought she'd be easy to manipulate. Turns out she's got her own mind. That's not instability. That's strength. If we're voting on strength, another board member added, I'd say publicly standing by someone despite intense pressure shows more backbone than folding every time someone threatens us. The momentum in the room shifted. Madison felt it. So did Richard. Fine, he said coldly. Let's put it to a vote. All in favor of recommending Madison step down as CEO until her personal affairs are resolved, raise your hand. 3 hands went up. Richard's loyalists. The same 3 as last time. All opposed, 7 hands, including Patricia Chen and 3 others who'd been on the fence before. Richard stood up so fast his chair fell over. This is a mistake. You're all making a mistake. The only mistake, Madison said, was thinking you could use my personal life to stage a coup. This company isn't yours, Richard. It never was, and it never will be. We'll see about that. He grabbed his briefcase and walked out. The door slammed behind him. The room exhaled collectively. That could have gone better, Patricia said dryly. But at least it's done. Is it? Madison asked. Richard's not the type to accept defeat gracefully. No, but he's also not the type who can fight when he's lost board support. He'll make noise. He'll threaten. But without votes, he's got no real power. Patricia looked at Daniel. You handled yourself well. Most people would have crumbled under that kind of attack. Most people haven't already lost everything once, Daniel said. Once you've hit bottom, board meetings aren't that scary anymore. Patricia laughed. I like him, Madison. Keep him around. They left the boardroom together. In the elevator, Daniel let out a breath he'd been holding for an hour. That was horrible. You were amazing. I was terrified. That man wanted to destroy me. He wanted to destroy us both, but we're still standing. Madison took his hand. Thank you for being there. Where else would I be? They walked out of the building into afternoon sunlight. Photographers were waiting. Of course they were. This story was too good to ignore now. Ms. Hale, is it true you chose a janitor over successful candidates? Ms. Hale, what does this mean for the company? Mr. Brooks, how does it feel to date a billionaire? Daniel tensed. Madison squeezed his hand. Should we run? He whispered. No, we're done running. She turned to face the cameras. Yes, I'm dating Daniel Brooks. Yes, he's a maintenance worker. Yes, he makes a fraction of what I make. And yes, he's one of the best men I've ever met. Any other questions? Silence. Then chaos. Cameras flashing. Reporters shouting over each other. Madison pulled Daniel through the crowd to her car. Inside, he started laughing. "Did you just tell the entire world we're dating?" "I did. Is that okay?" "It's terrifying and wonderful and completely insane." He kissed her. Quick and sweet and tasting like coffee. "But yeah, it's okay." Madison's phone exploded with notifications. Vanessa. The board. News outlets. She ignored all of it and drove to Chloe's school. They picked up Chloe and Ethan together. Both kids were buzzing with energy. "Mom's on TV," Chloe announced as she climbed in the car. She told everyone about Daniel. "I know," Ethan said. "Dad texted me during lunch. He said he was in a board meeting." "How'd it go?" Chloe asked Daniel. "Your mom was fierce. I mostly tried not to pass out." "But we won," Madison added. "Richard lost. Again. Is he going to keep fighting?" Chloe's voice got small. She'd been through enough instability. Madison hated that this was adding more. "Probably, but we're ready." Madison caught her daughter's eyes in the rearview mirror. "And even if things get messy, even if Richard makes trouble, we're going to be okay. All of us, I promise." "Can we get pizza?" Ethan asked. "Celebrating requires pizza." "Absolutely requires pizza," Daniel agreed. They went to the same Brooklyn place as before. The owner's grandmother recognized them and came out of the kitchen. "You're the lady from the TV, the one who picked the nice man instead of the rich jerks." "That's me," Madison said. "Good for you. Rich jerks are everywhere. Nice men are rare. You eat free tonight." She refused to take payment despite Madison's protests. They ate pizza and played trivia from the kids' menu and laughed until their sides hurt. For a few hours, they weren't a CEO and a maintenance worker being hunted by corporate sharks. They were just two families becoming one family. But reality always comes back. The next morning, Madison arrived at her office to find security waiting. "Ms. Hale, we need to speak with you." "About what?" "There's been a security breach. Someone accessed your office computer after hours last night." Madison's blood went cold. "What was accessed?" "Confidential files, merger documents, client lists. Everything was copied to an external drive." "Do you know who did it?" The security director looked uncomfortable. The access code used was Daniel Brooks's maintenance clearance. The world tilted. "That's impossible. Daniel wasn't even in the building last night. He was with me." "Can you prove that?" "We had dinner in Brooklyn. 4 witnesses, the restaurant owner, other customers." "What time did you leave the restaurant?" "Around 9. "The breach occurred at 10:30, in your office, using his code." Madison's mind raced. Someone stole his code. Someone's framing him. That's one possibility. The other is that he gave someone his code, or that he accessed the files himself. Daniel would never do that. "Ms. Hale, I understand you're in a relationship with Mr. Brooks, but we have to investigate this thoroughly. Until we do, his building access is suspended, and we're recommending you limit contact." "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious. If this gets out, if the press learns that a maintenance worker with access to executive floors potentially stole confidential data, the company's reputation will be destroyed. We need to contain this immediately." Madison wanted to scream. This had Richard's fingerprints all over it. But proving it would take time she didn't have. She called Daniel. He answered on the first ring. "Hey, I was just thinking about last night." "Daniel, when did you last use your building access code?" Pause. "Friday night. Why?" "Someone used your code to access my office computer last night. Stole confidential files." Silence. Then, "Madison, I swear to God I didn't. I know you didn't. But someone's framing you. Someone who knew we were together last night so they'd have the perfect opportunity to use your code." "Richard?" "Has to be. But I can't prove it. Security's investigating. They've suspended your building access, and they're recommending I cut contact with you until this is resolved. So Richard wins, again. No, he doesn't win, because I don't care what security recommends. I know you didn't do this. But you can't prove it. And in the meantime, every headline is going to be about how the janitor betrayed the CEO's trust, how you were a fool for dating below your class. Richard doesn't have to destroy me publicly. He just has to plant enough doubt that people destroy me themselves. Madison heard the pain in his voice, the exhaustion. We fight back. How I've got no money for lawyers, no reputation to defend, no proof I didn't do exactly what they're saying I did. Then we find proof. We figure out who actually accessed those files. We expose Richard. And in the meantime, you're attached to a scandal. Your board's going to use this. Your clients. Everyone who's been looking for a reason to doubt you just got handed a gift-wrapped excuse. I don't care. You should care. You've got Chloe to think about. The company. Thousands of employees depending on you. Daniel's voice cracked. Maybe Richard's right. Maybe I'm exactly what he says I am. A liability you can't afford. Don't you dare. Don't you dare let him win by giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. This relationship is costing you everything. Your company, your reputation, your peace of mind. At what point do we admit the cost is too high? Never. The cost is never too high for something real. Real doesn't pay bills. Real doesn't protect your daughter when the company falls apart. Real is a luxury you can't afford right now. Daniel, I need to go. I need to think. I'll call you later. He hung up. Madison stared at her phone and felt everything crumbling. Vanessa appeared in the doorway. How bad? Security thinks Daniel stole confidential files. Richard's probably behind it, but we can't prove it. Daniel's talking like he's going to walk away to protect me, and I have no idea how to fix any of this. Then we don't fix it. We pivot. To what? Offense. Richard's been playing defense this whole time, reacting to our moves. What if we put him on the defensive instead? How? Vanessa smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Richard Evans has been on the board for 8 years. He's made enemies. People who'd love to see him fall. What if we talk to those people? What if we dig into Richard's business dealings? His hotel empire? His contracts? I guarantee there's dirt there. Men like Richard don't get that rich by playing fair. You want to investigate a board member? I want to fight fire with fire. He's trying to destroy Daniel's reputation. Let's see how he likes having his own reputation examined. It was ruthless, possibly unethical, definitely risky, but Madison was out of safe options. Do it. Quietly. And Vanessa, find everything. I want to know every dirty deal, every questionable contract, every skeleton in Richard Evans's very expensive closet. Vanessa left. Madison sat at her desk and tried to think, but all she could think about was Daniel's voice on the phone, defeated, resigned, already halfway to walking away. She understood why. He'd already lost everything once. He had Ethan to protect. Walking away from Madison would hurt, but it would also end the attacks. Let him rebuild his quiet life without billion-dollar warfare. But Madison couldn't let him go. Not when she'd finally found someone who saw her as more than a title. Not when Chloe had finally found someone who made her feel safe. She called Chloe's school. This is Madison Hale. I need to pick up my daughter early. Family emergency. 20 minutes later, Chloe climbed into the car, looking worried. What's wrong? Someone's trying to frame Daniel, make it look like he stole company secrets. That's stupid. Daniel would never do that. I know, but proving it is hard, and Daniel's thinking about ending things with me to make the attacks stop. Chloe's face went white. No, he can't. He thinks he's protecting me. But he's not. He's just letting Richard win. Chloe's voice rose. Mom, you have to fix this. You have to prove Daniel didn't do it. I'm trying, baby. But I need help. I need someone who knows Daniel's schedule, who can verify where he was and when. I need Ethan. Chloe grabbed Madison's phone. Call Ethan, he'll know. Daniel tells him everything. Madison called Daniel's phone. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. He's not answering. Then we go to their apartment. We talk to him face to face. We don't let him give up. Madison looked at her daughter, 10 years old and fierce as a hurricane. You're right. Let's go fight for him. They drove to Queens. Daniel's apartment building was old but clean. They buzzed the intercom. No answer. Buzzed again. Finally, a crackling voice. Hello? Ethan. It's Madison and Chloe. We need to talk to your dad. He's not here. He left an hour ago, said he needed to clear his head. Do you know where he went? No. But he was really upset. He kept saying he'd ruined everything. Madison's heart sank. If he comes back, tell him we're looking for him. Tell him not to give up. Can you do that? Okay. But Ms. Hale, my dad really likes you. He's just scared. I know, honey. I'm scared too. But we're going to figure this out. They drove around Manhattan for 2 hours, checking the construction sites Daniel worked, the buildings he maintained, the park where they'd walked after dinner. He was nowhere. Finally, Madison's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Madison, it's me. Daniel, where are you? I've been looking everywhere. I know. Ethan called. I'm sorry. I just needed space to think. And what did you think about? Silence. Then, I think you were right. About fighting. I've been running from men like Richard my whole life. Every time things got hard, I backed down to protect the people I love. But that didn't protect anyone. It just taught them that backing down is how you survive. And I don't want Ethan learning that. I don't want Chloe learning that. So what do? We prove I didn't access those files. We expose whoever did. And we make Richard Evans regret ever trying to destroy us. Madison felt tears on her face. Where are you right now? Looking at security footage from the building. The maintenance supervisor let me access archives. If someone used my code, they had to be on camera. You found something? Maybe. I'll call you back in 20 minutes. He hung up. Madison looked at Chloe. He's fighting. He's fighting. Chloe smiled. Good, because I wasn't ready to give up on him. Neither was I, baby. Neither was I. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. When Daniel finally called back, his voice was shaking. I found it. Madison, I found proof. Proof of what? Of who used my code. It's on the security footage, clear as day. Who was it? You're not going to believe this. Try me. Daniel took a breath. It was Richard Evans. Madison's hands went numb. Richard? On the security footage. You're absolutely sure? I'm looking at him right now. 10:27 p.m. last night. He's at the service entrance using a keycard to access the maintenance area. Then he's at the computer terminal where we log our codes. He pulls up my information, writes something down. 20 minutes later, the breach happens in your office. Send me everything, every frame, every timestamp. I need it all. Already done. Check your email. Madison pulled over and opened her laptop. The footage loaded. There was Richard Evans clear as day in a section of the building he had no business being in, stealing Daniel's access code, framing an innocent man to destroy Madison's relationship and credibility. This is it, Madison breathed. This is how we end him. What do we do with it? We take it to the board, today, right now. Madison checked the time. 4:30. Can you meet me at the office in an hour? I'll be there. Madison hung up and looked at Chloe. We've got him. Richard. Daniel found proof he stole the access code and framed him for the security breach. Chloe's face lit up. So Daniel's not in trouble? Daniel's not in trouble. Richard is. Madison started the car. But we need to move fast. Richard's got lawyers and money and connections. If he gets wind that we have this footage, he'll find a way to bury it. They drove back to Manhattan. Madison called Vanessa from the car. Get me an emergency board meeting, tonight. Tell them it's about the security breach and it can't wait. Richard's going to fight you on this. Richard doesn't get a vote. Tell Patricia Chen what we found. Tell her we have proof of who really accessed those files. She'll back the meeting. On it. Next call was to the head of building security. This is Madison Hale. I need you to secure all security footage from last night. No one accesses it. No one copies it. No one deletes it. Lock it down until the board meeting tonight. Ms. Hale, I'm not sure I have authority to. You have authority because I'm giving it to you. If anyone tries to access that footage, you call me immediately. And if anyone asks why you're securing it, you tell them the CEO ordered it as part of an internal investigation. Clear? Yes, ma'am. Madison hung up and gripped the steering wheel. Her heart was hammering. This was it. The moment that would either destroy Richard Evans or destroy her. No middle ground. Chloe reached over and squeezed her hand. You're going to win, Mom. How do you know? Because you're fighting for the right thing, and the right thing always wins eventually. Madison wished she had her daughter's certainty, but she squeezed back and drove faster. They reached the office at 5:15. Daniel was waiting in the lobby. He looked exhausted and wired at the same time. You okay? Madison asked. No, but I will be once this is over. He handed her a flash drive. Complete footage, plus the access logs showing the exact time Richard pulled up my information and the exact time someone used my code to access your office. The timestamps match perfectly. Did you make copies? 3. 1 for you, 1 in a safe deposit box, 1 with my lawyer. You have a lawyer. As of an hour ago. Figured if we're going to war with a billionaire, I should have legal backup. Madison kissed him, right there in the lobby with Chloe watching and security cameras recording. You're brilliant. I'm terrified, but let's do this anyway. They went upstairs. The board was already gathering. Patricia Chen arrived first, her face grim. I hope you know what you're doing, Madison. I'm exposing a board member who committed corporate espionage to frame an innocent man. I know exactly what I'm doing. Richard's bringing his full legal team. He knows something's happening. Good. Let him bring them. He's going to need them. The board filed in. Richard arrived last, flanked by 3 lawyers in suits that cost more than most people's cars. He saw Daniel and his face went purple. What is he doing here? He's not allowed in this building. He's here as a witness, Madison said calmly. Since this meeting is about him, he has a right to be present. He's a security risk who stole confidential information. No, he's an innocent man who was framed. Madison plugged the flash drive into the presentation screen. And I can prove it. The footage started playing. The boardroom went silent. Richard's face drained of color as he watched himself on screen. Entering the maintenance area, accessing the code terminal, writing down Daniel's information. That's not what it looks like, Richard said quickly. I was checking security protocols, making sure the systems were functioning properly. At 10:30 at night, in an area you have no authorization to access. Madison advanced the footage. This is you entering my office 23 minutes later using Daniel's stolen code. This is you accessing my computer. This is you copying confidential files to an external drive. The timestamps were damning. Richard's lawyers started whispering frantically. Patricia Chen stood up. Richard, did you or did you not access Madison's office using stolen credentials? I was conducting a security test to prove that Daniel Brooks was a liability. By becoming the liability yourself, Patricia's voice was ice. You committed corporate espionage against our own CEO. You framed an innocent man. You violated about 17 different laws and company policies. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking that Madison's judgment has been compromised, that she's putting this company at risk by consorting with someone completely inappropriate. Someone needed to show her the consequences of her choices. So you decided to manufacture consequences. Madison's voice shook with rage. You decided to destroy a good man's reputation because you couldn't control me. You committed actual crimes to prove a point about hypothetical risks. I did what was necessary to protect this company. You did what was necessary to protect your ego. Madison turned to the board. Richard Evans has served on this board for 8 years. In that time, he's consistently tried to undermine my authority, question my decisions, and manipulate company policy to serve his personal interests. I've tolerated it because Thomas trusted him. But Thomas is gone, and I'm done tolerating behavior that actively harms this company and the people in it. You can't remove me, Richard said. I own 12% of this company. You're right. I can't remove you as a shareholder, but I can remove you from the board, and I can press criminal charges for corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and fraud. Madison looked at the other board members. I'm calling for an immediate vote to remove Richard Evans from the board of directors. All in favor? Patricia's hand went up immediately, then 3 others, then 2 more, 7 votes. All opposed, 2 hands. Richard's loyalists, not enough. Motion passes. Richard, you're no longer a board member. Security will escort you from the building. Your company email and access will be terminated immediately, and my legal team will be in touch regarding criminal charges. Richard stood up so fast his chair tipped over. You're making a mistake. Without me, this company will fall apart. Without you, this company will finally be free to operate with integrity instead of fear. Madison's voice was steel. Get out of my building. Security appeared at the door. Richard's lawyers were already edging toward the exit. Richard looked around the room waiting for someone to defend him. No one spoke. He grabbed his briefcase and walked out. The door closed behind him. The room exhaled. Patricia started clapping. Slowly at first. Then the others joined in. Madison felt tears on her face but didn't wipe them away. Daniel was standing in the corner looking shell-shocked. Is it over? It's over, Madison said. You're cleared. Richard's gone. It's done. He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. She let herself break down, just for a moment, just long enough to release 2 months of pressure and fear and fighting. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for believing me. Always. I'll always believe you. The board meeting dissolved. Patricia pulled Madison aside. That took guts. Richard's going to fight back. He's got money and lawyers and connections. Let him fight. We have evidence. We have truth. That's stronger than money. I hope you're right. Patricia squeezed her shoulder. But either way, I'm proud of you. Thomas would be proud too. Madison drove home with Daniel and Chloe. Ethan was waiting at their penthouse. Madison had sent a car for him after the meeting. The 4 of them sat in the living room and ate Chinese takeout straight from the containers because no one had energy for plates. So Richard's really gone? Ethan asked through a mouthful of noodles. Really gone, Daniel confirmed. Your evil plan to take down a billionaire worked, son. I didn't have a plan. Ms. Hale had the plan. We all had the plan, Chloe corrected. It was a team plan. That's better. Madison watched the 3 of them debate who deserved credit and felt something settle in her chest. Peace. Maybe for the first time since Thomas died. Her phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa. Richard's lawyer just called. He's threatening to sue for wrongful termination and defamation. Want me to panic? Madison texted back. Nope. Want you to go home and sleep. We'll deal with it tomorrow. She put the phone down. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Richard suing? Probably. But he stole company property and committed fraud on camera. His lawyers are going to spend about 5 minutes reviewing the evidence before telling him to drop it. And if he doesn't drop it, then we go to court. And we win. Because the truth is on our side. Madison leaned against him. I'm tired of being scared of men like Richard. They're only powerful if we give them power. And I'm done giving. The next few days were chaos. Richard's lawyers did try to sue. Madison's lawyers destroyed them in the first meeting. Richard dropped the suit within 48 hours. The press had a field day with the story. Billionaire board member caught framing janitor in corporate espionage plot. The headlines wrote themselves. Public opinion swung hard in Madison's favor. CEO stands by partner despite false accusations. Madison Hale proves love matters more than status. When integrity wins. The company's stock actually went up. Clients who'd threatened to leave renewed their contracts. 3 new major accounts came in specifically because of the publicity. Turns out people liked doing business with a CEO who had a spine. But the best part was the quiet moments. Daniel and Ethan started spending more time at Madison's penthouse. Movie nights, homework at the kitchen counter. Daniel cooking dinner while Madison helped Chloe with math. Normal family things that felt miraculous after months of warfare. One night, about 2 weeks after Richard's removal, Madison found Daniel on the balcony staring at the city lights. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About how different my life is now. 3 months ago, I was cleaning toilets and sleeping on a couch so Ethan could have the bedroom. Now I'm dating a CEO and eating dinner in a penthouse. It's surreal. Does it bother you? Sometimes. I still work maintenance. I still make $22 an hour. Nothing about my actual life has changed, except now people take pictures of me buying groceries. Do you want to quit the maintenance work? Daniel turned to her. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me loves it. I like fixing things. I like the simplicity. But part of me misses engineering. Misses designing things instead of just repairing them. What if you could do both? What do you mean? Madison had been thinking about this for days. Hale Enterprises is expanding into sustainable infrastructure, clean water projects, renewable energy. It's exactly the kind of work you used to do. What if you came on as a consultant? You'd work with our engineering team on project design. Use your expertise. Get back to what you're good at. Daniel stared at her. Madison, I can't work for you. You wouldn't work for me. You'd work with me, different department, your own projects, your own team. I wouldn't be your boss. I'd just be the CEO of the company that's smart enough to hire you. People would say I'm taking advantage, that you gave me a job because we're dating. People already say worse things. Let them talk. The question is whether you want to be an engineer again, or whether you're letting fear keep you small. Daniel was quiet for a long time. I want to be an engineer again. Then be one. Start Monday. I need to think about it. Fair enough. But Daniel, you've spent 3 years in survival mode, working jobs that pay bills but don't feed your soul. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to dream again. He kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. How did you get so wise? My 10-year-old daughter publicly humiliated me into reevaluating my entire life. Wisdom through trauma. They laughed. Behind them, through the glass doors, Chloe and Ethan were building a blanket fort in the living room. Their voices carried on the evening air. Happy, safe, home. I love you, Daniel said suddenly. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a couple months. But I love you. And I needed you to know that. Madison's heart stopped, started again, faster. I love you too. So much it terrifies me. Good. Terror means it matters. It matters. You matter. This matters. Madison took his hand. I lost Thomas. Lost my faith and love for a while. Thought maybe that was it. One great love per lifetime. But you showed me that love isn't finite. It's not one chance and done. It's as many chances as you're brave enough to take. So we're being brave. We're being brave. Daniel pulled her close. They stood there watching the city and holding each other while their children laughed inside, and the future stretched out full of possibility and fear and hope in equal measure. The next morning, Daniel called her. I talked to Ethan about the engineering job, about what it would mean, how our lives would change. What did he say? He said, and I quote, "Dad, you've been sad for 3 years. Take the job. Be happy. That's literally all I want." Madison felt tears in her eyes. Smart kid. The smartest. So yeah, I'll take the job, but on one condition. Name it. I report to the head of engineering, not to you. I want this to be clean, professional. I need to earn this position, not have it handed to me. Deal. I'll have HR send over the paperwork. You start Monday. Madison. Yeah. Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me, for fighting for me. You fought for yourself. I just stood beside you while you did it. Monday came. Daniel showed up in clothes that didn't quite fit right because he'd bought them at a discount store on his way home. But his eyes were bright and his hands were steady and he was ready. The engineering team welcomed him cautiously at first. They'd all seen the headlines. All knew he was dating the CEO. But within 3 days, his designs spoke for themselves. Within a week, the team lead told Madison he was the best hire they'd made in years. He sees problems differently, she said. He's not afraid to challenge our assumptions. And he actually cares about the communities these projects serve. It's refreshing. Madison felt pride so intense it hurt. This was what happened when you gave people chances. When you looked past titles and status to the actual human underneath. Good things, great things, things that mattered. But not everyone was happy about Daniel's success. 3 weeks into his new position, Madison got a call from a business journal. Ms. Hale, we're running a story about nepotism in corporate America. We'd like to include a section about your decision to hire your boyfriend despite his bankruptcy and limited recent experience. Would you care to comment? Madison's blood pressure spiked. My comment is that Daniel Brooks is a licensed engineer with 15 years of experience designing sustainable infrastructure. He's qualified for his position. His relationship with me is irrelevant to his professional capabilities. But you can see how it looks. CEO dates maintenance worker. Suddenly, maintenance worker is an engineer making 6 figures. That's a fairy tale. People are skeptical. People are welcome to be skeptical. They're also welcome to review his work and see that he's exceeding every expectation. His projects are ahead of schedule and under budget. His team respects him. Specs. His designs are innovative. Those are facts. Everything else is gossip. So you're saying there's no nepotism involved? I'm saying Daniel earned his position. If we'd met after he was hired, no one would question his qualifications. The only reason anyone's questioning them now is because our relationship challenges their assumptions about class and worth. And frankly, those assumptions deserve to be challenged. The journalist paused. That's a strong statement. It's an honest one. Print it or don't. But if you're writing a story about nepotism, maybe examine why we accept it when wealthy people hire their unqualified children, but scrutinize it when a CEO hires a qualified engineer who happens to be her partner. She hung up. Her hands were shaking. Vanessa appeared in the doorway. That sounded intense. Business Journal writing a hit piece about Daniel, calling it nepotism. Is it? Madison looked at her assistant. Would you ask that if Daniel had gone to Harvard and came from old money? Probably not. Exactly. People aren't uncomfortable because I hired someone I'm dating. They're uncomfortable because I'm dating someone who doesn't fit their image of what a CEO's partner should look like. And instead of examining their own prejudices, they're questioning his qualifications. So what do we do? Nothing. Daniel's work speaks for itself. Let them write their story. Let them question his credentials. 6 months from now, when his projects are saving communities and making the company money, they'll look foolish. The article ran the following week. The elevator romance that became a 6-figure job. It was exactly as bad as Madison expected. Questioning Daniel's credentials, implying he was taking advantage, suggesting Madison's judgment was compromised by emotion. Daniel read it over breakfast. His face went tight. They make it sound like I seduced you for a job. They're threatened by our story. It doesn't fit their narrative about how success works. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should quit, go back to maintenance, prove I'm not taking advantage. Or maybe you should keep doing excellent work and prove that worth isn't determined by where you started, it's determined by what you do once you get there. Madison took his hand. You've designed 3 projects in 3 weeks. All of them are brilliant. All of them are on track. You're not taking advantage. You're contributing. There's a difference. It doesn't feel like a difference when people are writing articles about how I slept my way into an engineering job. Then prove them wrong. Not by quitting. By being so undeniably good at your job that even the skeptics have to shut up. Ethan, who'd been eating cereal and eavesdropping, spoke up. Dad, you literally told me last week that you love this work again. That you wake up excited to go to the office. Are you really going to quit because some stranger